Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Business Point on Global Television. And of course, on Business Point, we x-ray Nigeria's economy. We talk about tech, innovation, as well as government policies and the news making rounds in the world of business. I am Queen Agaba. Now let's take a look at the news making rounds in the world of business. As part of efforts to increase the gross domestic product of the country, the federal government says it's set to establish solid minerals cooperation with private-driven structure. The Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, disclosed this while declaring open a two-day roundtable summit on the sustainable development of the mining industry in Nigeria, Abuja. Sharana J has details. Well, we'll bring you that report subsequently. The ongoing negotiations for a minimum wage have deadlocked following the inability of the federal government and organized labor to reach a consensus on the issue. President Bola Tinubu gave this indication in his speech during this year's International Workers' Day celebration in Abuja. Also, the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, faulted workers' insistence on the 615,000 naira minimum wage. He said the government and labor unions had not agreed to the amount for the minimum wage, but the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero, defended workers' demand, insisting that the organized labor would not accept any amount that would impoverish its members. The Central Bank of Nigeria has again justified its reliance on the loan deposit ratio to control the country's rising inflation. The Apex Bank also said it is ready to do whatever it takes to reduce the inflation rate. The CBN's acting director of the Banking Supervision Department, Dr. Adetona Adedeji, disclosed this in CBN Talk today. The CBN reduced the LDR of banks from the previous 65% to 50%, a move the regulator said would stabilize the economy. The federal government has approved a 25 to 35% increase in the salary structures of police officers, the armed forces, public servants, among others. It announced this through the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, stating that the salary raise takes effect from January 1st, 2024. The NSIWC, in a statement issued by its head of press, Emmanuel Njoku, said the approved increase of between 25 and 35% in salary was for civil servants on the remaining 6 consolidated salary structures. The federal government announced that it was set to issue a fully valid license to the 650,000 barrels per day capacity Dangote Petroleum Refinery. It announced this at the Stakeholders Consultation Forum on Midstream and Petroleum Host Community Development Trust Regulations, organized by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority in Abuja. The NMDPRA, an agency of the federal government, however, explained that though it had awarded a pre-commissioning license to the $20 billion refinery, a fully valid operating license will be issued to the Dangote refinery soon. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, has disclosed that the federal government will pay 2.75 billion naira compensation to property owners affected by the demolition necessary for the construction of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway spanning from Channel 0 to Channel 3. He revealed this information during a stakeholders meeting held in Lagos State. More compensation is expected to be paid in coming days. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be talking on our big topic, which is the increase, a 35% increase in salary structures. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to Business Report on Prime News. 9 fintech companies have frozen 105 accounts allegedly involved in unauthorized foreign exchange dealings, money laundering, and terrorism financing. This follows an application by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission to the Federal High Court in Abuja. The court granted an interim order on 24th of April 2024 to freeze the account for 90 days while investigation continues. The affected fintech and the number of accounts include Fair Money Microfinance Bank, Kuda Microfinance Bank Limited, OP Digital Service, Carbon Microfinance Bank, Momo Payment Service Bank, Pagatech, Palmpay Limited, and MoneyPoint. These frozen accounts are part of a larger investigation by the EFCC into 1,146 bank accounts suspected of forex racketeering. The EFCC believes that the owner of some of these accounts exploited cryptocurrency platform to manipulate the naira value against the dollar. It could be recalled that a couple of weeks ago, the EFCC chairman Ola Olukoyede told journalists that about 300 accounts had been frozen because of their connection to illegal trading on peer-to-peer platform. He explained that over $15 billion passed through a particular unnamed forex platform in the last year outside financial regulations. Following these account freezes, several fintech include OPay, MoneyPoint, Palmpay, and Kuda Bank have temporarily suspended the opening of new accounts. Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria (CIBN) says the recapitalization exercise of banks is a welcome development as it will empower banks to finance the real sector. The president, CIBN, Ken Opara, says the recently announced upward review of the minimum capital requirements of Nigerian banks by the Central Bank of Nigeria further empowers banks to extend credit to economy, especially with the productive sector. He made this known at the CIBN annual lecture with the theme Improving Availability of Credit in the Nigerian Real Economy, the Critical Importance of Liquidity in Lagos. Okpara says it has become increasingly evident that ensuring adequate liquidity within the banking system is very fundamental to fostering sustainable economic growth and development. The real economy comprises the agriculture sector, manufacturing, construction, and indeed services sector as tangible foundation of the nation's economic activity. Despite the significant impact of the real sector, access to credit for deal is relatively low compared to what is attainable in other clients. According to statistics, nearly $141 trillion has been lent out to the real sector in advanced countries in the second quarter of 2023. He says the figure is twice as high as the volume of credit in same sector for emerging markets. About 34.3% of Nigerian workers aged 15 and older are working poor, living below the poverty line despite being employed. This is according to the Nigerian Country Diagnostic Notes (CDN) 2023 by the African Development Bank, which was published on the bank's website. According to the new document, many workers in Nigeria are trapped in poverty due to low-skilled and low-wage jobs. The output per worker fell sharply from 8.7% growth rate in 2013 to a decrease of 0.8% in 2022. Such decline in productivity not only reflects economic challenges but also suggests that many firms struggle to adjust their workforce in response to the changing economic condition. This situation is exacerbated by the fact that only a small fraction of the workforce achieves higher education levels, further restricting their opportunities for better employment. It added that 41% of Nigerian workers were in low-skilled jobs, 28% in medium-skilled jobs, and only 31% in highly skilled jobs. Skill mismatch and educational inadequacy not only affect individual workers but also pose a broader challenge to the country's economic progress. Kike Lomo Ukeri, Global Television News.
The federal government approved a pay rise of between 25 and 35% for civil servants across various consolidated salary structures. The announcement was made on the eve of May Day, which is celebrated worldwide to recognize and honor the achievements and contributions of the working class. The announcement came ahead of submission of the report of the 37-member tripartite committee on national minimum wage led by Bukar Goni Aji, a former head of civil services of the Federation, which was inaugurated in January this year. A statement signed by the head of Press National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, Emmanuel Njoku, said the increases took effect from January 1st, 2024. But the Nigerian Labour Congress said the announcement was a waste of time and they are asking for 615,000 naira as minimum wage for workers. I'm joined by my guest, Ogaga Aremu, who is a business journalist, who will help us make better sense of this pay rise and the NLC's demands amidst rising costs of living. Good morning, Mr. Ogaga.
Queen, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. It's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Oh, same here.
Okay. Just for the benefit of my listener, I want you to establish, these and the 35% pay rise by the federal government and the labor's demands. What sense do you make of this development?
Okay. So basically, following the yesterday's main day celebration, prior to the day, the federal government actually make an announcement of 20% based on the institution and the grade salary increments. The federal government actually, what the federal government actually just did is wage award. Is different from minimum wage. The NSC is actually talking about minimum wage, while what the federal government did was wage award. Because minimum wage basically is not something the federal government will just come up and make pronouncement. It's something that is backed by law. And according to information already available, federal government earlier has actually set up a tripartite committee made up of private sectors and organized labor to talk about what is due as a minimum wage for Nigerian workers. Just yesterday, I think I even did a report where the organized labor, specifically the president of Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifu, made mention of the fact that the reconciliation committee, that is committees between the Nigerian labor and that of TUC, came up with an agreed minimum wage that was benchmarked for says 615,000 naira. So that alone is more like is a background. When you listen to their arguments, all their standpoint or their proposal, you will discover that is just more like a baseline or bottom line proposal. That is, this is what we have. Federal government, this is what we have. What do you think? What do you feel? Or what is your counter offer to what we have? So I'm sure with negotiation, because it's a committee and it's an ongoing stuff. So I think the labor is actually calling that the federal government should, kickstart that discussion so that they can advance in the minimum wage proposals or final conclusion at the end of the day, that at the end of the day it will not become a law, just as it was done in 2018 during Buhari time, when it was actually increased from 18,000 to 30,000. So now, it's an ongoing discussion, not something that instantaneously, but I'm sure from the look of things, the both end have actually set out the timeline. I think just recently, Labour actually gave federal government from now till 31st of December to ensure that all that is required is done for the minimum wage to be agreed. So we can't say. Just recently, an analyst also came up with another figure that is fair enough. This minimum wage is based on a lot of factors. Factors like the cost of transportation for majority of workers, the rising cost of food. Right now we have inflation rate that has gone to 40.01%. We have headline inflation that have reached 33.2%, and other variables that are available. Look at the rising cost of energy. Petrol, currently we're having petrol scarcity, and we don't know if the price of fuel and will be increased. So accommodation also has also gone up. So these are basic components that made up that actually they are the basic arguments that NSC has organized labor has come up with to project that amount. So it is now left for federal government and the labor, organized labor, to come up with a fair minimum wage. So like I was trying to point at, an analyst, which is his name is Paul Ledger, actually just make a recommendation that the minimum wage should not go below 100,000 naira based on current exchange rates. So you cannot disconnect the minimum wage from the cost of the exchange rate within international markets. Currently, we have exchange rate of before we went on Workers' Day break, it was within 130 something naira at the official market. So all those are factors that one have to consider. Then when the minimum wage was increased during Buhari period to 30,000 naira, the exchanges was within 300, but now we're having 1,000 something. So these are things they have to consider to come up with their final minimum wage agreement. But however, from the look of things, it should not go beyond below 100,000 naira. So it's something that is negotiable. So it is not left for the federal government and organized labor to come out with a fair cost. You also refer back to some other states who have also increased, just as the federal government increased by salary by 20, 25%, 35% based on the salary grade. That of Edo State government also increased their salary to 75,000 naira. So so these are things that we are looking up to, and see how Nigerians, ordinary workers, can actually live above the poverty line, because the essence is whatever you are earning should be able to take care of your needs. Are you getting it? So the basic needs that we have actually outlined, the cost of transportation, accommodation, food. You have to also take care of your children's school fees. And let's even assume that a family that is have a average number of 4, you have to take all these things put together is a whole lot. So I think that is why economists have actually projected a minimum wage of nothing less than 100,000 naira. So I think that is where we are heading to, and I hope the federal government come up with a reasonable conclusion. Not just reasonable conclusion, also conclusion that will come quite on time. So the year is running out already. We are in second quarter, so we expected that just as it was done in 2018, it was done in April, so it's expected that is actualized within this time, because it has a minimum wage has a legal time frame that it should exist. So this one has elapsed in April, so it's expected that the new minimum wage is being promulgated. So we are hoping that something better that is fair for all Nigerian workers should be implemented. The statement Tinubu made yesterday, the president made yesterday to Nigeria, was that an upward review of minimum wage is imminent, meaning that within a short time, this should be done, because really for many Nigerian workers, the hardship is really biting hard. So things like this should also help ameliorate ameliorate the current economic hardship for Nigerians, and also in a way of also cushioning the effect of inflation and other economic challenges.
All right, Mr. Ogaga, we'll just take a quick break, a really very quick break. And when we return, I would want us to do more like a comparative analysis of how the previous minimum wage, what we've been able to achieve in that rate, as to now where we have inflation, high cost of living, and difficulty, increase in tariffs and all of that, and what the future is for the Nigerian workers. Just after this quick break, please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Ah, yeah, got you. Okay.
Many thanks for staying with us. Now, if you've just joined us, the program is Business Point on Global Television, where we x-ray Nigeria's economy. We talk about tech, innovation, as well as government policies. And before the break, we have been speaking with Ogaga Aremu, who is a business journalist. He has been helping us make better sense of the NLC's demand as to the federal government's increase in pay rise between 25% and 35% for civil servants. Mr. Ogaga, I believe you're still there with us. Mr. Ogaga, are you there? Okay, maybe I need to do a proper establishment, of the ongoing minimum wage. The ongoing negotiations for a new minimum wage have deadlocked following the inability of the federal government and organized labor to reach a consensus on the issue. President Bola Tinubu gave this indication in his speech during this year's International Workers' Day celebration in Abuja. Also, the president's special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, faulted workers' inconsistence on the 615,000 naira minimum wage. He said the government and labor unions had not agreed on the amount for the minimum wage. But the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajare, defended workers' demand, insisting that the organized labor would not accept any amount that would impoverish its members. For a 615,000 naira minimum wage, that doesn't look like what would impoverish Nigerians or his workers. But given the current inflation rate and the high cost of living, talking about exchange rates, it might to an extent be what we would consider fair. But the federal government is saying presently now that they have not reached any consensus as to the minimum wage, this 615,000 naira minimum wage. And then we've had analysts come out to say that, okay, since they haven't gotten to a consensus yet, they've not agreed that this is going to be the new minimum wage. Some people are proposing that between 100,000 and above would be fair. But the question I would be posing now to Nigerians is how fair would anything slightly above 100,000 naira as minimum wage would be? How fair would that be given the high cost of living, fuel price, pump price, how the pump price has skyrocketed, exchange rate, the tripled prices of commodities in the market, and all of that. Mr. Ogaga, are you with us? Okay, we'll take a very quick break. When we return, hopefully we get connected with him so he helps us better make sense of this analysis. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Mr. Ogaga, I believe you're with us now.
Yeah, I'm here with you.
Yeah, thank you. I said some analysts, some analysts, they've come out to say that, and like you rightly put it, that slightly above 100,000 naira may be the consensus that would be reached. But I'm asking, would that be fair for Nigerians given the current living conditions? I mean, pump prices, transportation, the cost of transportation, food items, and all of that. How much would be fair enough for Nigerians? Is 615,000 naira too much from coming from the NLC? How much is too much? How much is fair enough given the present living conditions of Nigerians?
Okay, so basically what the NLC is proposing, just an estimate, is an estimate proposal. Is more like is the highest they can get. Are you getting it? If all is okay, it's more like a proposal. So when they negotiate at the end of the day, they will come out to something fair for the both sides. So just as you have rightly pointed out, analysts and based on the current economic reality, are you getting it? There's in fact, according to the benchmark that place one within the poverty line or below the poverty line or above the poverty line is above $100,000. So if you are using that benchmark, naturally it is expected that with the current economic realities, the continuous hike in inflation rate, the hike in the prices of food and services at the end of the day by implication, and also the rising cost of rising energy cost. Recently, electricity was increased for band A category consumers, electricity consumers by close to 240%. We also have other increases that Nigerian workers are incurring on a daily basis. So basically, one can't say this is the fair price, but in all situations, I'm sure that there are tripartite committee that is made up of all these players, the government, the labor, and even the private sector players. At the end of the day, they should be able to arrive at something that is fair enough within the range of 100 and above 200 or 250, according to what experts have actually emphasized. So now, like I was trying to reiterate, NLC is not telling you that it is either 15,000 naira or nothing. No, that is not what they are saying. They are saying that our rough estimate, what we are proposing is 615. What is your offer, federal government, or what are you offering us? What is your offer to us? So it is not left for federal government to also consider their cost, because when you're talking about minimum wage and all that, it has to be budgeted. It's it has the cost implication on the country's revenue is also there. What is the extent of revenue? Yes, in the recent close to 10 months since the coming of this government, FAC allocation to state government and also federal government and the third tier of government in general has increased. So naturally, funds should be available, but the extent of fund that is available for minimum wage increase is what we are talking about. So the federal government has to put in place all considerations and say, okay, this is what we have, and this is what we don't have, or this is what we can pay, and this is what we cannot pay. So it is now left for the federal government and the organized labor to come up with an agreed minimum wage. So what we can always speculate a range, which is what I've said, between 100,000 naira and 250,000 naira, to be able to tackle some of the little needs. You cannot get everything. One cannot get everything. But however, our desire is that Nigerian workers should be well paid, should be able to take care of their needs with the required wages that come to them on a monthly basis. So those are the kind of things that we should be prospecting. We are prospecting that at the end of the day, all the sides, the federal government, the state government, all the subnationals, the Nigerian workers in the state, in the local government, and even in the federal government, everybody will smile at the end of the day. That is what we are aiming. That is what we are looking at. That is our aspiration. And I'm sure that the government also have also projected a welfareistic stand or point of view in terms of their view of workers employee relationship, should be able to do what is needful to ensure that Nigerians indeed and smile at the end of the day. So that is my take home.
Okay, but now with this new pay raise, this 25% to 35% for civil servants, one of the problems that we've had over time, I tell you for a fact, is sustainability and consistency. Even with this one, while the NLC is still in disagreement with this, how sustainable in the long term, given Nigeria's economic forecast, how sustainable is it? And even if there's going to be a consideration or a consensus later in the future between the federal government and the NLCs, how sustainable do you think it will be, and what measures would need to be put in place to?
No, ordinarily, pay wage award is, if you cannot meet up with the required monetary side of it, you don't need to do pay wage award. So as long as the federal government has made this available, it is statutory. It should be there, and the resources to get it actualized, to implement it, should be done also, because it's not just they did not say that is in an intervention, just as what was done within from October to from May to October. It's not an intervention. It's not a 30,000 naira intervention. This one is a wage increment, like salary increment. So it should even come with employment letter will be restructured to include those restructured salary. So it's something that is statutory. So federal government have said they will increase. So they should back their words with action by implementing it. So is it to go to back to the National Assembly to readjust or review or come up with a supplementary budget? They can do that. They have been doing that in a lot of in most cases, and they can also do that. So I don't think the issue should be if the federal government can sustain it. The issue should be that they should back their word with action. So it should not be just a mere statement. Rather, it should be backed with action. That is, what was said should be, backed with action. You agree with me that there was even a mistake in the circular that came out. Instead of April 29, 2024, they wrongly put April 29, 2023, but that has been corrected by the one of the presidential advisor, that is Ononoga. So now those are the things. It's something that should be statutory. So civil servants, federal government worker salaries going forward from this May should carry that salary readjustment upward review right now. So that is pending the agreement of minimum wage that is yet to be concluded. So these are two different things. Minimum wage is different. Salary review that was done for civil servant currently is a different thing. So the good thing is that things should be done in a way that Nigeria workers will smile, because there's one thing to work, there's another thing for you to have the benefit for your labor. So that is our prayers for Nigerians and the country in general.
I'm just going to ask you this very last question, Mr. Okaga. Thank you very much. You've indeed help us make sense of these issues. But how effective has unions, especially the NLC, been in negotiating wages so far? How effective have they been in securing lives, living wages for their members? And also, can we have real-world examples or places that have implemented living wages, and what has been the outcomes? How can we even learn from them?
Okay. Living wages is a practice by a lot of countries. I think Canada has a living wage. UK has, US have, a lot of countries have. Is a practice. Is a practice that Nigeria itself as a country adopted since 1998, 1991, when the first minimum wage was actually implemented. That was, I think, is 120. Was it 125? I think it's 125 naira. That was the first time minimum wage was implemented. So since then till now, we have close to 5 minimum wage. So it shows that historically that has been implemented. Historically, the government and the labor unions have been able to agree on a particular wage that is fair enough for Nigerians at a period of time. What is fair in 1981, when the first minimum wage was implemented, may not be fair today because of economic circumstances. Because right now we have an increased inflation rate, we have an increased exchange rate, and that has also snowballed into affecting other economic spheres. The transportation sector, the energy sectors, all these things have increased. Even food is even worse stuff. So these are two different periods, and ordinarily it is now historically it has been proven that has been done. Are you getting it? So the federal government has successfully, during Buhari's era, That was
Okay, I believe that we lost track with Mr. Ogaga, who was, making, but he is just basically, highlighted some of the countries who have implemented this living wage and what the federal government is doing and putting in place to, you know, secure all of this. I think that's where we'll draw the curtains on Business Point today. Many thanks for joining me on the program. Do not forget to follow us on all our social media handles using at Global TV NG and the handles showing now on your screen. Don't forget on Business Point, we discuss the world business news, government policies, we x-ray Nigeria's economy, as well as tech and innovation. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.